Welcome to GA235 Corporate Identity. This is week 1, and we are going to discuss what is branding. So, some of the learning objectives for this presentation are going to be better understand branding characteristics, become familiar with vocabulary common to branding, gain an appreciation for a successful brand's visual identity. Some of the key terms and concepts are going to be visual identity, brand extension, audience, target audience, brand promise, brand experience, and brand harmonization. Today's lecture is going to include topics that center around what is a brand, what is branding, the types of branding, and who creates the brands. Okay, so what is a brand? It's a proprietary name for a product, service, or group, company, organization, corporation, or social cause or issue. Those are all kind of within the groups, I guess you could say. On a more multifaceted level, a brand is the sum total of all functional and emotional assets of the product, service, or group that differentiate it from among the competition. That's the technical term. So, as you can kind of see here with this graphic, kind of shows the 3 different parts that we just talked about: the sum of all the characteristics of the brand identity, and the audience perception. So you'd want to think of your product, right? Let's say Coca-Cola. And the brand identity would be all like the components, visual components of it. So the ads, the logo, the commercials you see on TV, print materials, website, digital stuff, things like that. And then the audience perception is what the audience thinks of the brand. And of course, you know, each person might have a little bit different of opinion of a brand, and they might vary to those who like it and those who don't, those that agree with it, those who don't. But it's kind of like a big taking a big snapshot of the audience in terms of generally what do they all think of the brand. And the goal, of course, for the company is to persuade them to think that they're great and that, you know, they're recognizable and overall to buy the product. So when we look at what is a brand and we look at the products and the services and the groups, well, here's some examples. A product, of course, could be like this aisle full of laundry soap. We have Tide, we have Bold, we have All, we have Cheer, and all the rest of them. They all sell a product. They all have a different look, as you can kind of tell, with the different colors and logo and such, all trying to stand out amongst each other. So that would be your product. Your service, of course, is maybe like a spa or, you know, a place to get your car done, you know, things like that. Uber would be one too, right there, a driving service. Group, we have World Wildlife Federation, kind of, you know, that could be more of a non-profit type of thing. It could be something that's, you know, really high corporate stuff that's not really sold to the consumers, but basically it could be business to business, or it could be just a conglomerate of a company that owns a whole bunch of other companies that within that sell products or services, things like that. Integrated meanings of brand. Brand characteristics is the sum total of all characteristics of the product, service, and group. The brand identity is as applied to a single product or service, and brand perception is the ongoing perception by the audience of the brand. Some of the brand characteristics will be functionalities, features, capabilities, emotional assets, and associations. So under brand identity, we talked about how those were more visuals, and as you can kind of see here, these are the kind of things that you'd see when it comes to anything associated with brand identity. We have the brand name, of course, and that would be for this particular product or service, I should say, is selling in the now. They have a logo, as you can kind of tell there, with the black and the red is the colors of the logo, and the way the text, the font's used, the way the text and everything's put together. I don't know if this one has a symbol or not. I guess that, you know, red dot and that's supposed to be an O could be potentially the symbol, but you know, once we get into logo design, you'll kind of hear a little bit more terms within that. Letterhead, as you can kind of see, the envelope all to the left there have the logo. As you can see, all of these pieces have a consistent look, right? They're all using the black and the red and the same font and the logo and all. That's important too, because in terms of brand identity, you want to be consistent in all the different types of pieces that you use, whether it's collateral, whether it is advertisements and things like that, packaging, website, all of it should have kind of that same consistent look from one to another. That's important because you don't want to confuse the consumer, and you want to make sure that you're showing them the same look so that it can kind of get built into their head about this brand that you have, so that it associates those visuals with it and it makes it more memorable and things like that. So brand identity, come up with a name and a logo. A lot of times when this is done at the very beginning of a company or in a redesign of a logo and their whole brand identity. But in this case, right, one of the first things would be having a name. And then around that name, you want to develop the logo. Once that logo is developed, then you can start to apply that logo and other similar graphics to all the different types of advertising pieces and things like that. So this is kind of like that first step. You could start developing, you know, letterhead. As you can kind of see here, I would argue that the letterhead is probably a little bit too busy. And also notice the logo looks different than what's on the letterhead. So this would be a good example of saying, hey, let's take a step back and look and make sure that everything matches the logo, and the exact same colors and all that have to be, you know, consistent. I always kind of bring up Coca-Cola because it's one of the, you know, oldest and, you know, most recognized brand that we have. Not that, you know, there's not a lot of other ones, but, you know, you don't see Coca-Cola ever using a color blue or a color red, or a color, yellow or green. You see them using that white and red and sometimes black as well. And within that color red, it is always one particular shade of red that's always on the logo. You don't have a light red and a dark red mixed together. That's always that same color red. Whatever that particular shade is, that's the one that's used all the time. And so once you have that logo set with the correct, you know, font, same with the font too. We have that cursive type of font that's always seen when we have Coca-Cola products in their logo. So all of that should be consistent on every material that you make, whether it's a sign, whether it's a website, whether it's print ads or digital ads, things like that. And so all of those pieces that have been being created, that is all the brand identity. We also have brand identity in terms of brand extension. It's a name applied to a new product or service or group with a different benefit or feature that is related to the existing brand. So we have, of course, we talked about Coca-Cola, but then they're going to also have different types of products within that are Coca-Cola products, right? So we have the Coke Zero, right? Well, it has the same kind of logo and text and color, but it might change the color up a little bit. It might do some sort of different look on the logo or add to it. And as you can see here, they added 0 underneath it in black. So it's recognizable as a brand. However, it is different than the original product.